What if I told you you were never actually missing anything? Not success, not recognition, not even purpose. You've been convinced that you need more money, more accomplishments, more validation to finally feel complete. But what if the feeling that something is missing is the biggest illusion of all? Think about it. Every time you reach a goal, satisfaction fades. The moment you get what you wanted, your mind finds the next thing to chase. You tell yourself, when I achieve this, then I'll be happy. When I have that, then I'll finally feel enough. But no matter what you gain, that feeling of not quite there yet always returns. And you're not alone in this. It's a cycle that consumes nearly everyone striving, achieving, moving forward, but never quite arriving. Society encourages it. From the moment we're old enough to understand the world, we're told that life is about becoming something, about proving ourselves, reaching higher, and constantly pushing forward. We believe that if we just work harder, if we just achieve one more thing, then maybe, finally, we'll feel whole. But have you ever stopped to ask, when does it end? There are billionaires who still feel like they haven't done enough. Celebrities, who have everything the world says we should desire, yet battle an overwhelming emptiness. The feeling of lacking doesn't go away because it was never about what you did or didn't have. What if the real problem isn't what you lack, but the belief that you were ever incomplete to begin with? In Jewish wisdom, there's a profound teaching. Your soul, your neshama, was whole from the very start. Nothing you do, nothing you acquire, and nothing you lose can change that. The problem isn't that you're missing something. The problem is that you've forgotten who you already are. But what if you could remember? What if everything you've been searching for has been inside you this entire time? Would you dare to stop searching and start remembering? Have you ever noticed how happiness is always tied to something just out of reach? As children, we believe that growing up will bring us freedom. As teenagers, we think that once we're adults, we'll finally be in control. As adults, we tell ourselves that once we find the right job, the right partner, or the right amount of money, life will finally click into place. But does it ever? How many times have you thought, if I could just get this one thing, I'd be happy? Only to find that when you finally get it, the feeling doesn't last. There's always another goal, another milestone, another reason why now still isn't enough. It's as if we're running on a treadmill that never stops, chasing a finish line that keeps moving further away. And it's not by accident. The world is designed to keep us wanting more. Advertisers convince us that happiness is just one purchase away. Social media shows us endless proof that other people have something we don't. We compare, we strive, we chase, always believing that we're almost there. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If almost has followed you your entire life, it's going to keep following you. Because the problem isn't that you haven't arrived yet. It's that you're running towards something that was never the answer to begin with. The Jewish sages had a term for this, hevel, a word often translated as vanity or emptiness. It's the idea that so much of what we chase is like smoke appearing solid, but slipping through our fingers the moment we reach for it. So if more success, more achievements, and more recognition never seem to be enough, what is? What if the real answer isn't about getting somewhere, but realizing you were never lost? If the endless chase for more never truly satisfies, then what's the alternative? In Jewish wisdom, there's a radical idea. You were never incomplete to begin with. The soul, your neshama, is not something that needs to be built, earned, or perfected. It is already whole, already enough, already connected to something greater than anything this world can offer. But if that's true, why don't we feel it? There's a well-known parable in Jewish thought about a prince who was sent far away from his kingdom as a child. He grows up in a distant land, believing he's just like everyone else, unaware of his royal identity. He struggles, He strives, he tries to prove his worth, never realizing that everything he's been searching for has been his birthright all along. And that's us. We are not becoming something. We are remembering what we've always been. Our souls are a direct piece of the divine, but we live as if we are separate, small, and lacking. We chase things outside of ourselves because we have forgotten what is already inside. The Talmud says, "A candle of God is the soul of man." Think about that image. A candle may flicker, it may be hidden, but it never truly goes out. It is always connected to its source, always carrying the same light, no matter what happens around it. The mistake we make is believing that external achievements will complete us. But completion was never something to be attained. It was something to be remembered. Jewish mysticism teaches that before we are born, our souls exist in a state of perfect unity. We are whole, lacking nothing. But when we enter this world, we experience separation. We feel disconnected, isolated, and that feeling drives us to search for meaning, to prove ourselves, to try and become something. But the deeper truth is, we were never less before. We were just unaware of what we already are. There's a teaching that before a baby is born, an angel teaches them all the wisdom of the universe. But just before birth, the angel touches their lips, and they forget everything. Life, then, is not about gaining wisdom. It's about recovering what was already known. So instead of asking, "What do I need to become?" what if we started asking, "What have I forgotten?" Because if the soul is already whole, then all the striving, all the chasing, all the proving was never necessary in the first place. If our soul is already whole, already connected, then why don't we feel it? Why do we wake up every morning feeling like we're missing something? The answer isn't that we've lost something, it's that we've forgotten. Imagine a person who has lived in a noisy city their entire life. They have never known true silence. The hum of traffic, the buzz of conversation, the constant movement, it's all they've ever experienced. But one day, they leave the city and stand in the middle of the wilderness. At first, the silence feels unsettling, almost unnatural. But then, they begin to notice something they had never heard before, their own breath, the sound of the wind, the stillness underneath it all. That's what happens to us. From the moment we are born, the world surrounds us with noise, expectations, comparisons, distractions. We are taught to measure ourselves against others, to seek approval, to prove our worth. We internalize this idea that we need to become someone, that we must achieve or acquire something to be enough. And in all of that, we forget. We forget that there was never anything missing in the first place. The ancient sages describe this state as galut hanefesh, the exile of the soul. It's not a physical exile, but a spiritual one. We get so caught up in the external world that we become strangers to ourselves. We spend years chasing after things we believe will fulfill us, only to feel more disconnected than before. In Judaism, spiritual practices like prayer, meditation, and study are not about adding something new, but about removing the layers that cover what is already there. The Hebrew word for repentance, Teshuvah, doesn't mean to change into someone new. It means to return, to go back to the essence of who we've always been. So if the truth is already inside us, waiting beneath the noise, then maybe the real question isn't, "What do I need to find?" but rather, "What do I need to let go of?" And once we remember, how does that change the way we live? If the soul is already whole, and if forgetting is what disconnects us, then how do we remember? The answer isn't complicated. In fact, it's the opposite. It's simple. Have you ever noticed how the most profound moments in life happen in stillness? A quiet sunrise, the sound of rain, the feeling of deep connection in a conversation where words don't need to be spoken. In these moments, something inside us settles. The endless chase pauses, and for a brief instant, we feel whole. That's because the soul isn't something you have to discover. It's something you have to notice. The world convinces us that truth is complicated, that we need complex techniques, years of study, or extraordinary experiences to feel complete. But the greatest Jewish sages taught the opposite. The deepest wisdom is found in the simplest things. The ability to sit, to breathe, to exist in the present. These are not small things. These are reminders of what has always been true. The great Hasidic master, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, used to say, "The whole world is a very narrow bridge, but the main thing is not to be afraid." Life itself is that bridge, constantly moving, constantly shifting beneath our feet. But the secret is that we were never in danger of falling. The fear, the striving, the feeling of lacking, they were never real. So how do we begin to remember? Not by searching for something new, but by creating space for what was always there. A few moments of silence, a pause before reacting, a conscious breath, a willingness to sit with yourself, not to fix, not to change, but simply to be. In Jewish tradition, there's a reason why the Sabbath Shabbat is considered the holiest day. It's not about doing more, it's about doing less. Stopping, letting go, remembering. Because in stillness, the truth becomes clear. We were never incomplete. And when you stop running, stop proving, stop chasing, something incredible happens. You remember. If you've never truly been incomplete, then what changes? How do you live when you stop chasing and start remembering? At first, it might feel strange. The world around you won't change. Society will still push the idea that you need to achieve more, prove more, become more. But something inside you will be different. You'll stop measuring yourself against impossible standards. You'll stop believing that your worth depends on what you accomplish. And most of all, you'll begin to trust that who you are, as you are, is already enough. But this isn't about passivity. It doesn't mean we stop growing, stop striving to make an impact, or stop reaching for meaningful goals. It means that instead of chasing success to prove something, we can pursue it as an expression of who we already are. Instead of seeking love to fill a void, we can give love from a place of wholeness. Instead of searching for meaning outside of ourselves, we can recognize that meaning was within us all along. There's a passage in Pirkei Avot, a collection of ethical teachings from Jewish sages, that says, "Who is rich? The one who rejoices in what they have." Not the one who has the most, but the one who knows they already have enough. But how do we shift into that mindset? How do we unlearn years of believing we are missing something? It starts with small moments, a pause before reacting, a breath before making a decision. A simple question: am I chasing this because I truly want it, or because I think I need it to be enough? And then something changes. You begin to live from a place of wholeness. You stop trying to fill a void that was never really there. You stop running toward a future where you'll finally be complete because you realize you already are. So if nothing was ever missing, then life is no longer about searching. It's about being. What if everything you've been searching for has been with you all along? Not in the achievements, not in the recognition, not in the things you thought would finally make you whole, but in the quiet, steady presence of your own soul, complete, unshaken, always connected. The world will keep telling you that you need more, that you need to become something greater, that you are incomplete until you reach the next milestone. But that voice is just an echo of forgetfulness. Beneath it, something deeper is waiting, a stillness, a knowing, a truth that has never left you. The Jewish sages understood this well. That's why so much of Jewish wisdom is about returning. Not chasing, not fixing, but remembering. Remembering who you are. Remembering that you were never separate. Remembering that you were never lacking. And maybe, just maybe, this entire journey, this whole life, is not about becoming anything at all. Maybe it's about stripping away the distractions, the noise, the doubts, until all that remains is what was always there. Imagine living without the need to prove anything, without the pressure to constantly chase something more. Imagine the freedom of knowing that nothing was ever missing, that you were whole from the very beginning. Maybe the real journey isn't forward, but inward. Maybe all it takes is a pause, a breath, a quiet moment of realization. Because if you were never incomplete, then there is nothing left to prove. There is only something left to remember.